Okay, so now here we have a passage. It's out of completely, there's no, this is the entire thing. So I'm going to be flying blind here, but it goes like this. Words are an aspect of the attempted communication of thought. Okay, perfect. Words are an aspect of the attempted communication of thought. They are not thought, period. When we see words described as thoughts, we should make sure we know this distinction. Well, that's vital. Okay, so let's take it apart. In this case, words are an aspect of the attempted communication of thought. Well, anyone who's ever tried to communicate something of importance, of any kind of detail, of any kind of nuance, knows that oftentimes people can nod their head and they've heard the words, but they haven't absorbed them, or they haven't digested them, or they haven't processed them, or whatever. And this happens to all of us. And so one of the vital things about this kind of work is that the words are very, very limited, extremely limited, as are books, and as are concepts, and as beautiful as poetry and many other things are. They're actual abbreviations of a terrible sort of the reality. And so we could say a word like love, for example, but love is much more than words, obviously, okay? Even with a small L, there are aspects of love that are almost impossible to communicate. That's why we need poetry, right? And so words are one aspect, but only one aspect of communication of thought. So he's saying that thought is broader than just verbal. Okay, so what other kinds of thought are there besides words? Well, there's unconscious communication. There's communication using facial expression. There's communication using the energy of your body, your state. So to make words synonymous with thought is a mistake. So, and now we get into the question of, well, where's the boundary between thought and, say, vision? You see a shape that resembles let's say a Twitter bird, okay, but it's in black, and you just see it there, and your brain immediately, it communicates something. The shape of it communicates a bird. It communicates an attitude. If it's light blue, it communicates something else, or the Mickey Mouse ears, right? They're communicating something without words, and for your brain to process it is something like thought, okay? And this, talking about a topic, this will go on for forever. The nuances of thought. What is the difference between seeing an object just go across the sky, and then making the decision that that's not a hawk, that's an eagle, or that's not a bird, that's a plane. So that must be processed, okay? And the processing of that, and we can get into endless neurobiology too, but so the point here seems to be that words are just a very limited form of communication, extremely limited and limiting, and as so is thought, but they are not synonymous with thought. So when we just see words described as thoughts, we should make sure we know this distinction. Now, the purpose of this statement, I would guess, is as you progress and as you become more simple, actually, and more quiet, difficult to do these days, you'll learn that your thoughts are much more than words or numbers or symbols. You could argue that any activity of this part of the brain here, the cortex, this guy right here, which makes us different from the other monkeys, it makes us different from what gives us dominion over the animals, right? Because we have this abstract thought. But that can be a double-edged sword, and we're going to talk about that, the double-edged sword of thought and humankind. But nice citation. And so this is a perfect example. Words are an aspect of an attempted communication of thought, of the attempted communication of thought. They are not thought. When we see words described as thoughts, we should make sure we know that distinction. So this is a directive to go to your mind and to contemplate your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your moods, your anxieties, the conflicts, all of that, to know yourself at first, So because a lot of this stuff is totally extraneous. You know, you got it from your parents, you got it from your friends in high school, you got it from the media, or you got it from your priest or pastor or whatever. But the task at hand is to kind of simplify that, and that takes me to the next quotation from it looks like Matthew 18:3. Truly I say unto you, unless you will be converted and become like children, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. Well, that's a very powerful statement of Jesus, and let's take that up next.